Good morning, Chair.
What we will do today is we'll do a little bit of SQL and the Python facility to interface with databases. And next week, our plan is to do a little bit of SciPy. We'll do two classes. We'll do two or a few classes of SciPy as well. Okay. So today we'll do one class of SQL, and next week we'll do one more class of how to actually do the coding for the SQL in Python, and then we'll do two more classes of SciPy next week. And then after that, I think we'll have the Pongal holidays. And immediately following the Pongal holidays, my plan is to have domain-specific applications. Okay, so we have a set of topics for domain-specific applications, and these will be taken by faculty who are well versed in the particular domain. So I have requested a few faculty in EEE and SOC to handle these domain-specific applications for you, and you'll have 5 to 7 classes of these domain-specific applications. So I hope you make good use of those domain-specific applications because they are applications of Python in your particular domain. So feel free to interact with whoever is your faculty. I'll be handling for big data biology. And please ask questions and make it interactive with your particular guide, and make sure you learn more about how Python can be applied in your field, and I hope it will stimulate your interest further. Okay, so Python is like now really a very popular language for all these applications, and I would say Python and R, and but even like more than R, Python is really emerging. I know both Python and R, so with a little bit, not with too much bias, I can safely say that Python is widely used in many different contexts. So you have a lot of packages in Python to apply in different domains. So I hope you make use of that and really, query your particular, guide during those, 5 to 7 classes about further applications of Python in your domains. So I think we'll have one faculty from EEE handling for robotics and digital manufacturing. One faculty from SOC will handle for AI and data science, and one faculty from maths will handle for MSc data science. And I hope it goes well for you. If there are any concerns, our classroom will always be open. Anyway, I'll be coming towards the end. Once these 5 to 7 classes are over, you'll be joining, everyone will be joining me again, and we'll be having 1 or 2 refresher classes. And then we'll also do some tests at that time as well. Okay, so we have a lot of things to cover. We have done half the test, we have another 3 tests. These will happen once your domain specific applications are also over. So this is the plan. So next week I will conclude from my part, and then we'll have 5 to 7 classes of interactions with your domain respective, let's say, faculty, and then after that again we'll meet up, okay, for refreshers and assessments. Okay, so that is the plan. So today what we will do, so what we are doing in the unit 3 has been a very exploratory excursion into many different packages in Python. So I hope this sort of an excursion is providing you with the appetite to explore more of these packages on your own. Okay, so there are thousands of packages in the Python ecosystem. So I hope the way we are doing it in class is encouraging you to explore these packages on your own as well, because there are many more of these packages, and some of these packages you'll find is really useful to you in what is your interest. Okay, so there are all sorts of packages. Feel free to go to pypy.org and explore the packages. So all the packages are available at pypy.org. I'll show you what is the address for that, URL for that. You can go there and search for some topic of interest, give some keyword, and you find a lot of packages that are related to the keyword. So that particular address, let me just put it down in the chat box. So www, excuse me. Called the Python package index, www.pypy.org. And when we do pip install, whenever we do pip install, what pip install does is really access this pypy.org for the particular packages, downloads them, and then actually sets up and installs the packages on our machine. Okay, so this is the central Python package index. This is the official repository of Python packages. And apart from these, some individual research groups may also publish their own Python code that will only be available in research papers. But mostly all these, may also be converted into packages and available on pypy.org. So most of the packages are available. So I mean, like everything that is packaged and it has to be deposited into pypy.org. So in fact, from our group, we have a pypy.org package. Let me just put that package for you. So in our group, we developed this package called RiboFlow. So you can search pypy.org for RiboFlow. This is basically a package that uses deep learning to classify a certain sort of biological sequences. Okay, to classify ribose switches. So they're called as biological sequences. These are called as ribose switches, RNA sequences. Ribose switch RNA sequences. So I have given you an introduction to RNA, DNA, alphabet here when we did the exceptions, isn't it? So those are very simple, everyone should know them. So we in our lab we developed a package that uses the RiboFlow package that uses deep learning to classify ribose switch RNA sequences into 32 classes. Okay, so we did a multi-class 32 class classification, and we had some 99% greater than 99% accuracy, in fact, and this has been published this year as well, and the package is available on pypy.org. Okay, so even we have done it. So I mean, like there are tons of these packages on pypy.org. This is the official index, and feel free to plug in some keyword that is interesting to you, and you'll find tons of packages. And if we know how to explore packages, that also we do it every time in class. So first find out what are the functions in the package, do a dir of the package and find out the functions and the data attributes that are there, and then you import the package and use these functions, and then when you just type the function, it will prompt you for the arguments that are there in the function, and now how you need to specify these arguments and what are the data types. So everything is when we use the editor, all this help is also available to us. So so I encourage you to do that. I hope so. That is the main another outcome of learning that I expect from this Unit 3 as well. To be able to make you self-reliant, to go ahead and explore these packages on your own after this. All right. Okay, now let me just do another this crash course in SQL. I posted this on Monday, so I'm not sure how many of you did it. So after this, we'll do some coding. So I'm sure all of you are doing a course in database. Is that correct? All of you are doing a course in databases?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, so all of you. Okay, so I think it's a common core course, just like this course. So I'm sure all of you know about the SQL. So let me just refresh your memory on this, and I'll provide the script. Towards the end of the class, you can work on the script over the weekend, and on Monday we do it in class. Okay, to actually do the database access with Python requires a MySQL server to be set up on the machine, and then we have to create the databases via Python. I'm not going to really do that in class, setting up the MySQL server and all those, because that goes really into RDBMS and everything. But I hope from your class in RDBMS, all of you have a MySQL server, and therefore you're able to interface with that through Python. So that is my objective. So we know that there are relational database management systems, and MySQL and PostgreSQL, Oracle, all these are examples of RDBMS. So MySQL is very popular because it is open source, and we can install it for Windows or Linux or Mac OS as well. Okay, so Python offers many different API for working with databases. What is meant by an API? So API means it is a application programming interface. Okay, So the application is the database. We need to program the database, and Python offers the interface to that programming. So Python offers us API for working with databases. And these are called DB API because they are database APIs. So Python offers DB APIs. And how does it offer these APIs? It offers them through modules. Okay, so just like this random module, NumPy, SciPy, there are some packages for working with databases. Okay, and there are packages that work with MySQL. There are packages that work with, let's say, Oracle, and there are packages that work with SQLite. Okay, so SQLite is a very lean package that has only the basic functions, but it is sufficient for most purposes, and it can also work with MySQL. So for our purposes, what we will do is we'll only be installing this is SQLite. And how do you install it? We just say pip install SQLite, and within Python we say import SQLite as SQL or whatever. Okay, so whatever it is, you just say import SQLite. Okay, so this is the package API that we'll be working with in class. So Python offers DB API, and each of these for each of these types of databases, it offers a different API because the API differs depending on the database, whether it is MySQL or Oracle, whatever, depending on the database, the API will differ. So there are separate packages for databases with each of these types of databases. Okay, so it offers not one DB API but multiple DB APIs depending upon what type of DB database it is. Okay, so it offers one for MySQL, Oracle, and all these, and SQLite is a very general version of this API that can work across many different databases, including MySQL. So how do we install this package? We just simply install SQLite, and we can import the SQLite. Okay. All right. So that is just the preliminaries about these databases. Now, once we are into the SQLite, we've imported the SQLite. Now, how do we work with the SQLite? Isn't it? So first is we assume that there's a database already created, and then we can go into the database and do a database operations. Now, what is the database? The database is nothing but a collection of related tables. Okay, it's a organization of tables with interrelationships. So organized collection of tables. So there are multiple tables. The tables are joined on certain attributes, and there is a entity relation schema, ER schema, which tells us how the tables are actually organized within the database. And this collection of tables that are organized in this fashion using a ER schema is called as a database. So that is the sort of a definition for the database. And if you already have a database, then Python doesn't have to worry about creating the database. If you don't have the database, we have to create the database, and it can be done within Python by once we import the SQLite. Okay, we give certain commands and then we create the database. Okay, now this actual Python command for working with the database will go into after we complete a crash course in SQL. So what we will do first is do a crash course in SQL, ensure that we have all the SQL basics. Then, as I said in the previous class, these SQL commands must be passed as Python strings, and the Python strings will be passed by the API into the database, and the SQL within the strings will be executed. So this is how it operates. So Python doesn't transform the SQL commands at all. The SQL commands are directly given as strings to Python, and Python will do it as using the API with the talk with the database. So we'll see the mechanics of that. Okay. So with SQL, let's do a refresher course. What are the tasks that we want to do with SQL? Okay, we use the structured query language to create tables, and then we want to populate the tables, fill the tables with values. After you've done filling up the table with values, we want to update the table contents. And once we have finalized table contents, now all the corrections have been made. Maybe you want to retrieve some information from the table, maybe prepare a report from the table. Okay, and you want to do some analysis on the table, isn't that's the whole point of having a database. So the database is dynamic. We want to have a way to update table contents. If someone has moved the address, we want to update the address. Okay, if new customer has joined, we want to populate the table with the new customer as well. So we must have dynamic facilities for populating the table and updating the table contents. And then whatever analysis we want to do with the database, we want to be able to do that analysis. These are the common tasks we do with SQL. Create the tables and do all these table related activities. Now, with the creation of table, there may also be a need to modify the table definition. Okay, and that modify can also be offered. Maybe some attribute is no longer required, or a new attribute is required. Let's say now the citizens of India require a Aadhaar ID, isn't it? So every citizen now has a new attribute, and this attribute we must add to the table definition. So that is called as modifying table definition, and that should also be possible. When Python claims that it offers a DB API, it should be able to do all these SQL activities. All right. Now let's see each of these tasks in a little bit more detail and how to do it in SQL first. So how do we create table? So the SQL command for creating table is create table. Okay, in capitals, and then we give the name of the table. Okay, and employee is the name of my table here. Okay, and after that, what we have to say is we have to use a parenthesis to give the field names. And the general format of a field name is you just specify what is the field name, followed by the data type of the field name. So SQL has a certain way in which the data type is specified. We know the data types are integer, char, float. Not a float. We can have a float. So we will have integer, char, float, and then we have a date data type as well. And so these are some of the data types. And there is one way in which we refer to these data types in Python. There's a slightly different way in which we refer to the same data types in SQL. So when you want to say integer, you just say integer in capitals. And when it's a character, you just say character and specify the length of the character, maximum length. If the character can be of variable length, then we say it is a var, meaning it is variable character. And then again, you say what is the maximum length of the var as well. So maximum it can have 20 characters. Just say char of 20, it means you have to give exactly 20 characters. But if you say var of 20, it can take from 1 to 20 characters. All right. So like this, I have the staff number, and this is the ID of the staff, and that is the primary key. And all of us know what primary key means because we have done these. We have done like half a semester of databases. So primary key is the key on which every row in the table is distinguished. Okay, so the primary key is never repeated for any two instances in the table. So the primary key is unique for that particular table. And the primary key can be designated when we create the table definition itself by saying after the data type, we just say primary key, these two words. All right. All right. So then you say gender, it's char1, and then joining date, some date, and birth date, again of type date. All right, and then you close it off with a closing parenthesis and a semicolon. All right. Okay, so this is how we create tables. So this is one table. Like this, you can create many tables. Now, all these tables initially will come under database. And how do you create the database? We just say create database, the SQL command, and then we give a database name. And then the database will be created. After you create, then you can create this table. And likewise, you can create any number of tables. Okay, and each table will have a primary key, and then after this we can join the tables and do a lot of other things which we also see. Now first, before doing all that, we want to populate the table with values. So how do we do that? So that is insert into. Okay, so the SQL command for populating the table is insert into followed by the table name. And what is the syntax for that? Again, it's parenthesis. So you note in SQL it's always parenthesis, commas, and semicolon. Okay. All right. So now, even to specify the length of the char, it's a parenthesis. All right. So every language has a syntax, isn't it? Okay. Fine. So now insert into employee. Now we specify what are the values we are going to give. Okay. And sometimes you always have to give a primary key, but sometimes we don't know the let's say joining date, or so some values we don't know, but we still want to fill whatever value is available into the instances. So what are the fields that are available? You can specify the fields exactly corresponding to the table definition. Okay, and this need not be a complete set of fields. You see, in fact, joining date is missing here because that information is not available. And now you close it, so it looks like a tuple, isn't it? Okay, but it's not really a tuple. SQL doesn't recognize a tuple structure, but it looks like a tuple given our Python background. Now, these are the fields I want to insert into, and then you follow it up with a SQL keyword called values. Okay, and so insert into table name, what are the fields you want to insert, and what are the values, and these are the following values, again open parenthesis. Staff number I'm not going to populate now. Okay, I just say null for it, just because the primary key I've specified it, but I'll split up later, and then you say first name, last name, something, and then all these are char and strings, and then you give the date, and the data is given in the year, month, and day format, and that is fine. All right. So now, like this, you can insert multiple instances into the table. But well, very quickly, this becomes tedious, isn't it? So we have large databases. We are doing big data science, and we're not going to be really inserting one by one thousands and lakhs of entries, isn't it? Okay. So obviously, we're not just going to do this data entry day in, day out, month in, month out, isn't it? Okay. So that is where Python steps in, and that is why we want to be familiar with the Python DB API. Okay. So how do we automate the whole thing, isn't it? Okay. So let's say we just have a file with all this information, then we read the file in Python, and then we use the Python DB API to take the contents of the file, and then using the Python DB API, we populate the tables, okay, with the Python construction. Okay, so we use the Python file handling, open the file, extract the data, and then pass this data into the SQL DB API and automatically populate the database. Therein lies the power of the entire automation. Therein lies the power of using the Python DB API. And that's why we want to learn the Python DB API. Okay, so to automate the populating of all these databases, of all these tables. So I know that you're doing the database course, and I'm sure you have a lab in the databases. So I'm sure you've done all the insert and everything. So I'll not ask you like, how you did the insert and all that. But I'm sure you did it using SQL and you had to do it one by one. But imagine you had a file with all this information, isn't it? As a CSV file, comma separated file. You read the file in Python, okay, and for every line, the data is there. You just extract the data, pass the data, and pass it to the DB API and automatically populate the database. So like, the whole life is made easier, isn't it? Okay, and we're also like, some achievements we have done, when we are able to do that. So that is the main objective. Okay, so this is the basic syntax for that. And with this syntax, we'll use this syntax and see how to automate populating the tables. All right. Well, now when I want to update certain values in the table, then we use the SQL command called update, and we give the table name. And what is the column attribute where I want to update? Okay, and so we use that particular to specify that information. We use the SQL keyword set. Okay, and what is the attribute name? And you can give that field name, whatever, maybe you say joining date or something, and you can give it some value. Okay, but it's only specified instances. Those column names should change. And what are those specified instances? They can be specified by using the where clause in SQL. So you specify some condition here, and only those instances that satisfy that condition, their column names will be modified and set to the given value. Okay, so in this way we can update the table contents. Okay, so first specify the table name, then specify what is the attribute that has to be updated, and then specify the condition, specifying which instances have to be updated. Okay, and then only those particular cells, those particular values will be updated. Okay, now how do we specify the condition? There's a syntax for specifying the condition, and I've given that syntax here very clearly. And that syntax basically has three elements. The condition basically consists of what is the column, okay, and in that column, what is the operator we want to use, and what is the value. Okay, let's say we want to change the joining date for all the male employees. Then what we do is we say set joining date is equal to some value, where the condition, the column is gender, operator is equal to, I want to find where the gender is equal to, and the value is, they are male. For the male employees, I want to change some value. So where gender equal to M, you set the column name. Okay, so you see what we say is, so we say update employee. Okay, and we say set, and we say joining date, that is the name of my column, is equal to, let's say 2020. Okay, and 12, and then 1st December they join, only for the male employees. So then I say where. Okay, and I say where. Okay, and then what is the column name here? It is gender, and here it's just 1 equal to, and the gender value is just n. So a gender equal to n, set my joining date as 1st December 2020. This is all I have to do. This is the SQL, okay, commands for doing this operation. All right, so now we have completed 3 tasks that we wanted to do. We know how to create tables, we know how to populate the tables, and we know how to modify the table contents. All right, now we want to retrieve the information from the tables. Okay, and this is the very key part, because what is the whole point of this entire exercise? After creating the table and everything, linking them up together, we want to be able to extract some interesting information, generate some useful reports, okay, do some analysis of the data. We have big data, put it in a database, and we want to do the analysis, okay, some data driven analysis. All right, so SQL offers some basic facilities for doing this analysis, okay, and then we can use other Python facilities to do further analysis. Once the data is extracted from the database, we are still sitting within the Python environment. So do further analysis with the data that has been retrieved. Okay, use NumPy, use SciPy, do more analysis, do some visualization, and then like you're really putting your Python skills, okay, to the best use, isn't it? Okay. So now how do we actually retrieve some relevant data from our database? Okay. So for this, okay, the Python, the SQL keyword, isn't it? Now we are doing SQL. So the SQL keyword for retrieving information from the database and the tables we have created is called select. Okay, so select. Okay, we want to select certain information from the database. So we say select, and then there is the optional keyword called distinct. Okay, I put it within square brackets to indicate it is optional. Okay, you may specify it or you may omit it, and we have to specify the column name. Okay, so what we want is certain attribute information, and what are these attributes that we are interested in? You just say it as column names. Okay, and it can be one column or it can be multiple columns that are separated by commas. Okay, and where are these columns coming from? From some table name. Okay, so we use from and say what are the table name from which they are coming. Okay, and then which column names, which data do we really want? We specify those by using this where condition. We've already seen the where condition when we use the update. It's the same where condition, the same syntax, and we can give multiple where conditions. Okay, likewise here also we can give multiple conditions. How do we give multiple conditions? We use Boolean operators to combine the conditions. So we say where just once at the beginning, and we give condition 1, and then we can combine the conditions using the AND operator or the OR Boolean operator or the NOT. So we have 3 Boolean operators we can use, AND, OR, and NOT, and we provide them in capitals. In this way, the conditions can be combined. So, and you can have many AND operators and many OR operators and many NOT operators. So here we have shown 1 AND and 1 OR and 3 conditions totally. So we say where condition 1 and condition 2 or condition 3, and we can also use parentheses between these conditions to say that, group the conditions together. All right. So all these conditions will be executed. We have this huge table and huge database, and these conditions will be executed, and only those instances that satisfy all the conditions will be selected. Okay. And for those particular instances, these particular columns that we specify will be displayed. And how will these columns be specified? We can, is it in some order we want to specify them? Then we can use this order by keyword, and we can say order by. And in fact, for the order by, we can use some other column itself. It need not be one of the selected columns. We can use any other column name that is available in the table to sort the columns that we are displaying, to sort the values in the columns that we are displaying. Okay, and we can say order by any column name in the table. And there's an optional argument where we can specify ascending or descending. By default, it is ascending, and we can say by default there is no order. It is in the order of the table. If you say ascending, you have to say ASC, and it will be displayed in the ascending order. And if you say DESC, it will be displayed in the descending order. Okay, so this is my sort of a introduction. I'm sure you all are the experts in this. You've done a course in the DBMS, so I'm sure I can learn from you, regarding all these constructs. So I'm just trying to provide a refresher here. So is this all correct? Can anyone tell me? So whatever I've said so far is fine, correct?
Sir,
No, I'm just asking, is
sir,
everyone agreeing? Yeah, yeah, tell me.
uh, I'm from robotics, sir. So we don't have a core course of database, but in 12th standard I had a course Java MySQL. So when you are teaching this,
Okay.
I'm able to recollect that. So it's
Good, good, good,
yes.
good. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy I'm doing this because I wasn't sure if everyone had that common core course. So I'm glad to hear that it's not for everyone. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that we are doing this and this provides a refresher. I mean, this is all we really need to know to be able to use Python with the databases. If you want to build on your SQL knowledge, you can do that, okay? And your classmates, your peers will help you with that. But these are the basics, and these pretty much cover most of the tasks we want to do. If the task you want to do in the database is one of these tasks, okay, I think this will help you. At least this will serve as a nice introduction for you that you can build on, and then you'll feel confident to go ahead and explore more as well. Okay. All right. So the retrieving information is essentially accompanied by a single SQL command, and that is called the select. Okay. And the select comes with a lot of these different options, and we can make the select as powerful as we want, and exactly zero in on the information that we are looking for. Okay. So the select itself is a very powerful, keyword. And to do what select does, we may have to write many lines of code. Okay, the select does it very beautifully in a very compressed format. A lot of analysis can be packed into the select. That may not be even very easy in other programming languages. So that is why SQL is a full-fledged language by itself. Okay. All right. So now within the select, let me just mention that we can also combine two tables here, and we can do a select and we can do a outer join or inner join and all those things. And these are slightly advanced database. I won't go into that. Let me just highlight to you that here we are only doing for one table, but usually we want to combine the tables on some common field and then query the tables and then interrogate the tables. So therefore, that is also possible by using this join. Okay, we use a join, and we can say it's outer join or inner join, and then we can say from multiple tables, and these tables will be combined on some common column that we specify as the argument to join, and that is how we can work with the collection of tables as well, and that's what the no, and we have a ER schema where the tables have some common column names, isn't it? And that is how we use that particular the entire power of databases as well. So that is with regard to the join. I'm not really going to do the join in our Python DB API. All right. So this is about the fourth task where we wanted to retrieve information from the table. Now, beyond this, we want to, like, let's say, do some operations like modify the table or delete the database and all these different things. So, what are those things? For that, we have these other commands. And if I want to delete an entire table, I have no more use for this table and it's occupying a lot of memory in my database. I use the SQL keyword called drop table and I give the table name. And this table name is basically the table name that we give here. So I just say drop table employee and the entire employee information is lost. The table definition itself is deleted. Now suppose I want to add a particular attribute to a table. Let's say now I want to add a Aadhaar ID to every citizen. So then I say alter table citizen, and then I say add Aadhaar ID. Okay, and it's a integer. Okay, and I say it is an integer of length 12. Okay, so I can say, or I can just say integer, and that will be fine. Okay, so I can say alter table citizen add Aadhaar ID integer. Okay, so alter table, some table name, add what is the field name you're going to give. Okay, and so every instance will have some value for this field name, or it will be either empty once you create it, and then what is the data type of the field name that has to be specified right here. So any field name we create, the data type must be concurrently specified, like we see in the table definition itself. All right. Okay. Now, suppose you want to, instead of adding a table, we want to delete a column. And instead of adding a column, you want to delete the column, isn't it? Then we say alter table table name. It's the same alter table, but instead of adding, we want to drop. Okay, we see add and drop. These are the two keywords, and here we want to drop a column. We say drop column. So the keyword is drop column, and just give the field name, say let's say joining date, and this entire column will be deleted. Okay, and now let's say I just want to modify the data type of a particular column name, isn't it? Okay, so let's say previously my Aadhaar ID was a integer. Now I want to convert it to a character. Then I say alter table citizen, and then I say alter. Okay, so it's not drop or add, but I want to alter, isn't it? So again, it is alter, and it's not a table here, but it's a column that I want to alter. So within this table, I want to alter the column name. So I want to alter the joining. I want to alter the Aadhaar ID, and what is the new data type? Whenever I want to alter a column, it's basically to do with altering the data type, because the column is the only property it has is the data type. So if I want to alter a column, it means I want to alter the data type. So alter the Aadhaar ID, and I say it's a varchar of 12 or varchar of 20, isn't it? Whatever. So then the the column name, columns, the attributes can also be altered with respect to their data type as well. All right. So likewise, we can also delete the entire database, and we can to delete the entire database. We say here it is create database, and to delete the database, we just say drop database. Okay, and we say drop database, and we say what is the data DB name, and the database itself will be deleted from the server. Okay, so let's say you have a MySQL server running, and the database is created and run is there available. And when you say drop database DB name, the whole database will be deleted. Okay. Now, when we do this using the Python DB API, isn't it? Okay, so now we come to the Python DB API. So that is about the SQL introduction. Okay, and these are the 5 tasks how to modify the table definition, and these are the set of commands for doing that. Okay. All right, so now we are completed, we are done with the SQL, the refresher is done. Now let me just sort of give you a brief, peek into what we'll be doing next. Okay, so we'll be using the Python DB API to work with the databases using the SQL command. So as I say, the SQL command will be passed as a Python string. The SQL command will be passed as a Python string. Okay, and this Python string will be directly passed to the DB API. All right. So to do all these things, there are many objects that we need to create, and then this will work. Okay. So because this API has to be created, isn't it? And we have to work with the API. The essential part of it is that the SQL command is passed as a Python string. Okay. So there's no change to the SQL command; it has to be directly passed because the SQL is what is understood by the database. So the Python is just like a middleman. It takes the SQL, passes to the database does something, and whatever is the output, it returns it back. All right. Okay. And then we can do a lot of automation within the Python, isn't it? So that's what we are discussing as the benefits of using the automated access to the database. All right. So now, okay. So that is the essential part of it. Now we will do this in class, and we'll see how to write Python programs that incorporate SQL, and then do these activities with the database. So each of these activities, how to do in the database, we'll do it from within Python, and we'll do that. We'll write a Python script for that. But we'll not be doing it as a with a database. That is, to have a database, we really have to have the MySQL server running on the machine, and we must be doing all this. I don't have a MySQL server running on this machine. But those of you who are adventurous or who are already doing the DBMS course, I hope you have a MySQL, you have a database server running on your machine. If that is the case, then you can take further advantage of what we are doing in class by directly seeing the effects in the database. Okay, and you can see a live demo of that, actual demo of that. But what we will do is we'll do the Python scripting, and I will leave it at that. And when you are able to set up the MySQL server and all that, you'll be able to run these commands and then see that they work exactly as we discussed in class. All right. So even on my end, I don't have a MySQL server running, and therefore we're not actually going to execute the Python script. Okay, we'll be coding the Python script, and for each of these tasks, but on the execution part that requires a MySQL server to be running, and in order for us to actually be able to show the database end of it. Okay, so I don't have that running, and that also may it's not really let's say integral to what we are doing. Okay, so but in later in the next iteration of the course, I do hope to have a database server itself running. Idea. Because there's nothing like actually showing it live, isn't it? Okay. So, but just this time, I hope it's fine with you guys, and we'll be coding it. And I hope those who are already doing the DBMS may be motivated to run the MySQL server. I don't know if you're doing that, and you can then see the results for yourself. Then see this whole thing working. And that will be entirely different experience for you, right? That is what we will do. What I will do is I will share the Python script with you as well. And those of you who have the database, servers running, you can try the Python script and come for the Monday class. And in the Monday class, we'll just go over the script, and I will, do it, explain the script, and then, leave it at that. So that's what we will do on. Okay, we'll just see what are the objects that are created. I'll just connect the dots for you and hope to make sense for you. Okay, and that's what we'll do on Monday. So what I want to do now is I want to know how many of you have a MySQL server database running on your machines. Let me just do that. Okay, let's see. Maybe we'll do a poll on that. Not sure if I'm just curious because you are doing the database course, so let's just see. So anyone has any doubts on the SQL refresher that we did? I'll be posting the materials in the class. So any questions on the SQL?
No, sir.
Is it somewhat approximately like what you're doing in the database course?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's like we are getting reminders, like same thing.
Good, good, good. Okay, I'm happy I'm not making too many errors. Okay, so I have a MySQL or some other database, running on my machine. So that is the poll, and yes, I'm not enrolled in the DBMS course. And finally, you say no. Okay. So this is what is the poll. Let's just do the poll. I know that only those with the mobile can do this. You can also, like those with the mobile, just go to the chat box and let me know if you have a MySQL or database running on your machine. Okay. So I just want to know if anyone. Oh, so there are a few of you. Excellent. Okay. There are 2 votes that says. So I would like to see more votes. I'm not enrolled in the DBMS course. No, I don't have a MySQL. Yeah. Oh, good. Good, good. Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot of you who do have this. That's excellent. So is it a MySQL server that you have running on your machines?
Sir, Oracle SQL server, SQL Plus.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. What we will be doing, will be something that is geared towards MySQL. I do it for MySQL because MySQL is open source. So wherever you are, you can use MySQL. Whereas the Oracle SQL server is a bit, I'm not sure if it is available everywhere. Okay, so I will show you how you can sort of, use the DB API for Oracle. But that DB API will have slightly different functionalities in terms of creating the objects. I'll show you, I'll tell you where it differs. But the actual coding we do will be for the MySQL. Okay, but the template is the same. You can easily adapt it for the Oracle as well. All right. Okay. All right. So So, I hope that some of you who have the servers running will also take these Python scripts, run it on your servers and let us know what the outcome is. If you can do a small 5-minute presentation, on your server, that'll be great for us. I think, yeah, that'll be really good for everyone. So I hope one of you will volunteer and do this in parallel on your SQL server and share the results with the class. Okay, either during the class, that'll be great, and also like post some results in the classroom as well, so that it is you're sharing the your experience with your peers in the class as well. All right, so that is all I have for today, and I'll post the Python script as well. So those who have servers running can also experiment with the script. Okay, on Monday we'll go over the script. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.